Hello everybody, and welcome to my very first review of R.L. Stine books, and this is number 15 of Fear Street, the original series, and this is called The Prom Queen, and I'm going to review it and recap it and all that good stuff. First let me tell you how I'm going to format it. I am going to give a plot summary as a refresher, then I'm going to give my thoughts about it and my rating. And my rating scale is a school scale of A through F. So, and that's about all. And I'll talk about the cover and what I think of it also after the plot summary. So stay tuned. Okay, so this is The Prom Queen, published in 1992, and it is 24 chapters, 167 pages, and the tagline is "She was drop dead beautiful." ... And the back tagline is "Dance of Death." Alright. So we start off with our main character right here, Lizzie, and she is talking with her friends about the string of murders around town that have been happening in the Fear Street woods. And her friends are, well, the main girl's name is Lizzie. She's our heroine. And her friends' names are Dawn and Rachel. And Rachel's scared because apparently she lives on Fear Street and all that stuff. And they're just being total, like, preppy biatches about everything and making fun of these murders and these girls they don't even know. And it's kind of just very insensitive. So off the bat, these characters aren't the best, but, you know, well, likable. They aren't the most likable. But, you know, whatever. So yeah, and they're in the locker room, by the way, chatting about all that stuff. And then the bell rings and they all head for class. And as they're preparing to leave, Dawn brings up prom and brags that 4 of the cutest guys at Shadyside High have already asked her out. Like, come on, like, seriously? So we know what type of character that Dawn is. And Lizzie, of course, doesn't have a date because her boyfriend Kevin is an army brat and his father dragged him to Alabama. And I guess no one cares about Rachel if she has a date because, yeah, she's the weakest link, and we don't really hear about her as much. So the girls finally exit, and they go to the auditorium for a prom assembly. And just a side note, is there an actual prom assembly? Like, isn't there just, like, a prom? I don't know. I guess I'm not very educated in that, but anyway, moving on. And their purpose for that assembly is to announce the candidates for prom. I thought they just did that, like, over the loudspeaker or something. I don't know. Moving on. Mr. Sewall, or Sewall, I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name, but I'll just say Sewall, the principal, and everyone calls him the Muppet. He takes the podium and he speaks about the murder, the most recent murder, for a moment, before completely downplaying it with a laugh. And really, like, why is everybody so sensitive about these murders? I mean, are they, like, used to it? I mean, come on. The girls are making fun of it and making light of it. And the principal is as well. I didn't find that very realistic, but whatever. Anyway. And then they reveal who the candidates are. Lizzie McVeigh, the main character, she's one of them, and she did not see that coming at all. Second is Simone Perry. She has long dark hair and is wearing a silk top and tight leather skirt and all that stuff. Third is Elena Potter, a bouncy, perky, popular girl with no brains to speak of. Fourth is Dawn Rogers, who I just spoke of, who's Lizzie's BFF, the kind of whorish biatch. And yada yada, and the last is Rachel West, which is her other friend. So they all made it, great for them. And she's ignored, and she's obviously the weakest link and the most, you know, hated out of all of them, all of those 5. Okay. So, the excitement dies down pretty quickly when Muppet Sewall announces that where the prom will take place. Excuse me. And it is, hold on. But what the seniors don't know is that as a special treat, I've been able, this is what he says, I've been able to rent the newly refurbished Hosley Manor house. That should make for quite a party, don't you think? Anyway, so it's in the Fear Street woods, near the place where the girl's body was found. Coincidentally, that's where the prom is going to take place. And let me just say, you probably shouldn't plan a prom near where a murder happened unless you want more murder to happen. Like, I don't get their logic, the committee or whatever, or the principal. I don't get their logic, but anyway. So everyone in the audience is kind of disappointed, obviously. They don't want to be killed. Lizzie is upset and completely tunes the principal out and thinks about her fellow candidates. And all that stuff, and it's kind of boring, and we get better descriptions of what they all look like and all that stuff. To be honest, kind of boring. And then we go to everyone's favorite restaurant in town, Pete's Pizza, a popular one in Fear Street, or, well, Shady Side. So the prom queen girls are all sitting together for the first, and the first thing that comes up is the killer. All they talk about, literally, every 5 minutes they're talking about this killer and the victims and everything. Finally, Lizzie suggests that they do each other's speeches. Simone pretends to be Dawn, and vice versa, and they all pretend to be someone else, and they both get big laughs, and yada yada yada. When Elena pretends to be Rachel, it's cringe-inducing because all she talks about is Rachel's poverty. Then Rachel strikes a nerve when she pretends to be Elena and takes the spoiled little rich girl act a little too far. The table gets quiet until Simone leaps up and screams, "No, stop!" and runs out of the restaurant. She's acting like someone was just murdered. But it's just Justin talking to some cute girl outside, and Simone ain't having it. So, way to overreact. Like, I actually thought something was going down. But anyway, while she's away, Dawn has a dirty little secret to unveil. She says she went out with Justin last week. She doesn't regret it, and everything. But Rachel drops another bomb. Dawn asks her what she would do if Justin asked her out, and she says, "He already asked me." I said yes, so, wow. So we got a cheetah up in this joint. So that night, Lizzie's back in the auditorium for play rehearsal. She does the props for their play. Some dude named Robbie wants to know where Simone is and tells someone to call her. They get no answer, so Lizzie decides Simone is somewhere in the school and goes to look for her. She manages to get herself locked in a dark stairwell, because obviously she's smart. And then she starts screaming like a deranged loon because she hears someone coming. It turns out to be Mr. Santucci, the janitor, who wants to know what the heck is wrong with her. Lizzie apologizes and walks out to the parking lot where Dawn is preparing to leave. Dawn is acting an awfully lot like a prom queen killer, in Lizzie's opinion, like acting kind of shady. She gets in her car even though it's obvious she sees Lizzie coming, starts the car, and attempts to drive away even though Lizzie is standing right there. Finally, she rolls down the window, and Lizzie is shocked to see that her face is covered in scratch marks, and she's got blood on her shirt. So, shady, shady, shady. Suspect number one, Dawn. Finally, so Dawn says she was playing tennis and crashed into the fence surrounding the court. Dawn drives away before Lizzie can say another word. Robbie and Eva come out to the parking lot and say that rehearsal is canceled because Simone is a no-show and she's the lead, so they need her. What could have happened? And then Lizzie heads to Simone's place where, to kind of see where she's been at, where her dad says she's upstairs in her room. Now this is where the plot thickens and gets more interesting. The room is totally trashed, and there's a huge puddle of blood in the middle of the floor. Lizzie sees a flash out of the corner of her eye and runs over to the window where she spots some dude running into the woods carrying something wrapped in a big gray sack. And knowing these books, it's probably not her body. It's just probably just someone running with a bag, an actual bag of stuff. And then, the next afternoon, Lizzie and her pals are at Simone's house eating peanut butter cookies and watching Simone's mom cry over her missing daughter. Wow. A couple of police officers show up and interrogate them. They tell Simone's parents they've got people searching for their daughter. So The officers ask everyone where they were. Everyone has an alibi, so the cops leave. Everyone also leaves a moment later. Outside, some cross-eyed weirdo named Lucas Brown comes running up to Lizzie screaming, "I killed her! I killed her!" But, of course, if he's doing that, he didn't, obviously. He's just an insensitive a-hole who thinks that's funny. Lucas badgers Lizzie until she gets into her car. He makes the mistake of putting his fingers on the open window, and she nearly crushes them as she rolls the window up. As she's driving home, she remembers something about the person she saw in the woods that night. And da-da-da-da-da, the chapter ends there. 2 weeks later, Simone is still missing, and no one seems to care, really. To be honest, they just brush it off as if nothing happened. Once again, these people are a-holes. Lizzie claims she can't stop thinking about Simone, but yeah, right. You're really doing it. You're really thinking. Huh. Anyway, it's Wednesday night, and Lizzie, Dawn, and Rachel are driving to Division Street Mall, another popular. Lizzie brings up the fact that Lucas Brown, the weirdo, cross-eyed guy that she ran into, who confessed, asked her to prom. The girls find this hilarious, of course. Lizzie shot them down because she suspects he had something to do with Simone's disappearance. That person running in the woods with the giant sack was wearing a maroon baseball jacket, just like Lucas wears. So it's beginning to point toward Lucas, who we barely even know, other than he's a weirdo, cross-eyed loser that just popped up out of nowhere. Well, that proves nothing about a baseball jacket. That proves nothing. That's, Anyway, Detective plus Lucas dated Simone for a very short time before she dumped him and broke his achy heart, so maybe he killed her in revenge. Obviously, if they're suspecting him, he didn't do it, so let's move on. Suddenly, Lizzie announces they're making a stop at Simone's house. To remind her, Dawn, of course, is a biatch about it, but Liz insists they do. Dawn stays in the car while Lizzie and Rachel go knocking on the door. Simone's dad fills them in on what's been going on, so pretty much nothing, and shuts the door in their faces. They get back in the car where Lizzie and Dawn exchange some fighting words. Lizzie accuses Dawn of being insensitive. Thank you. About this whole Simone thing, which makes me laugh because it ain't just Dawn who's acting insensitive. It's pretty much the whole town. They finally change the subject to prom, which is now about 2 weeks away. So it's coming. It's coming. When they reach the mall and they make a dash for the prom dresses, Dawn acts like a total biatch, telling the other two girls that they don't look too good and all that. Then Lizzie and Dawn fight over a dress, and Dawn ends up winning because she's obviously more of a biatch. Eventually, they leave the store and go to the movie theater. Lizzie spots Suki Thomas, Shadyside's notorious harlot, clinging to Justin. So Justin's obviously a man whore. And that was Simone's boyfriend. During the movie, all Lizzie can think about is these two. Dawn gets up to get a drink and tramples all over Lizzie, effectively breaking her trance and possibly her toes. After about 10 minutes have passed and Dawn still hasn't returned, Rachel goes to check on her. A moment later, she comes running back and tells Lizzie something terrible has happened to Dawn. So she passed out. She just passed out. And when she wakes up, she mumbles that some dude came out of nowhere and hit her in the head. The cops come, Dawn explains it all, and the manager offers her free tickets for another movie since she didn't finish this one. So, yeah, that's interesting. Then at home, Lizzie sees she received a letter from her old lover, Kevin, who's away. Nothing really interesting happens. Kevin sounds like a 75-year-old referee or retiree living in Boca. It's starting to storm outside and everything. Obviously, that's like, if you watch a slasher, you know something's gonna happen. So Lizzie starts a letter to Kevin and all that stuff, and she says, "Dear Kevin, Simone is dead." Seriously, that's what she put. And she just gets much further because Rachel calls. So she says, "Help, Lizzie, please," and then the phone goes dead. So obviously it seems suspicious, so Lizzie rushes over to Fear Street. As she's driving past the cemetery, she runs over something. Or someone. She gets out of the car, realizes she just killed a raccoon, and almost gets her own butt run over by a passing truck. Jeez. Anyway, Lizzie manages to get to Rachel's house in one piece, thankfully. When she gets inside, she runs up to Rachel's room expecting a bloody corpse or something really terrible, but Rachel's just fine. Yeah, all that suspense and all that stuff, and her almost getting killed, and Rachel's fine. And she wanted to call her, she wanted help because Gideon is breaking up with her boyfriend. Really? Really? that much of an emergency for her to run over, almost getting killed, rushing over just for that. Jeez. And she replies about, she rambles about getting with Elena and blah blah blah, and it sucks, blah 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 blah. Lizzie leaves a few minutes later without meeting her, seeming normal. Yeah, when she really should have hit her. I mean, come on. Lizzie gets back home. Her father excitedly informs her that the murderer has been caught. She's disappointed that it's just some nut that broke out of prison and not Lucas. Lizzie decides to stuff her face with chocolate and veg out in front of the TV to calm herself. She turns the channel to the news and sees the rotten, toothhead murderer who claims he did nothing. Lizzie goes to bed, but doesn't get to sleep for long. She hears knocking on the door, and she and her parents go downstairs and find a cop on the porch who informs Lizzie that she was the last one to see Rachel alive. Dun dun, dun dun. And this is where it gets really interesting. So now Rachel is dead. It's been a week since Rachel's murder now. She was found stabbed to death, apparently on her bedroom floor, and everything is just peaches and cream. No one knows what's going on, no one really cares, obviously, and everything's just moving on. Anyway, it's Thursday night, and Lizzie is checking props for the play rehearsal. Dawn comes up to her and says she never should have taken Simone's part because wearing a dead girl's costume is too creepy. Then she says the killer is obviously targeting prom queen candidates, and she could be next. One can only hope. Anyway, Dawn goes on stage, and Lizzie suddenly gets the idea that Dawn could be the killer. So obviously she's not. She desperately wanted to win. She was crazy about winning. We all know that. Crazy. And all that. So she starts questioning that. Then Lizzie starts thinking about Rachel's ex, Gideon, and thinks maybe he did it. Then a sandbag comes tumbling down the stage, distracting Lizzie and nearly creaming Dawn. After comforting Dawn, who makes a big production about someone trying to kill her, Lizzie leaves. As she's driving through the pouring rain, she sees a face pop in her rearview mirror. It's stupid Lucas, crazy Lucas, who carries on about wanting to get to know her better and blah 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 blah. When Lizzie realizes he's wearing a maroon baseball jacket, she freaks out and forces him out. She speeds all the way home. When she gets there, the lights are out and her parents are gone. She turns on the kitchen light and finds Justin sitting there, the man whore, and he tells her that her parents went to the airport to pick up Lizzie's aunt. Justin starts hitting on Lizzie creepily, and this is a very creepy, like, I was kind of like, whoa, why is he there? But anyway, he starts hitting on Lizzie after mentioning how lonely it's been since Simone went missing, and all that stuff, and Lizzie tells him to take a hike, which he does, so that was kind of weird. I'm sure he can find another girl. He seems to move on quickly. That night, Lizzie has a nightmare about zombie prom queens and wakes up screaming. The next day at school, it's all she can think about. At lunch, Lizzie walks right past Elena and Dawn and sits with some nerdy freshman dude instead who's in heaven because of seniors paying attention to him. Once Lizzie is done eating, Elena comes up to Lizzie and says they need to talk. Since they've got 20 minutes left in lunch period, they take a walk to Shadyside Park. I'm surprised they can leave. I mean, if there's a lot of murder, why would you be able to leave? Anyway. Elena cries over her guilt at dating Gideon, and Lizzie tells her it's okay. Lizzie asks if Gideon ever mentioned the prom queen contest, which Elena says no. Lizzie said his feelings about sports Rachel's, so whatever. So I'm gonna kind of jump a little bit because this video is getting very long. So pretty much what happens is, here's your twist, I guess. Simone is the killer, the one who disappeared about a quarter of the way through the book. She was the first victim. She pretty much hid out, and that's why they never found a body. She wasn't dead, and yeah, she just wanted I forget her motivation. It's been a little bit since I've read it, but I knew she wanted revenge on something. So, I believe it was because all the prom queens had Justin and she didn't want them to, and so she kind of went crazy. In the beginning did show that, kind of foreshadowed in the beginning when she went out and saw Justin with another girl, and she said, no! Got real angry. That was kind of a foreshadowing thing. I did not really see that twist coming. I thought it was pretty clever. I thought it was done pretty well, and overall very fun. So the cover I really, really dig. I really like it. I have to move on quickly, but I really enjoyed it. Really fun book, really fun read. Definitely a good first one to start off with, and I would give it an A- on a letter grade scale. So that is all for now, and see y'all soon.